Just a couple of silly friends talking about serious stuff.
Welcome to Onesies for Funsies Day at Not What I Was Expecting. Two friends react to crazy ex-girlfriend. I'm Enough, or I guess Eeyore.
I'm Edward, everyone's favorite unicorn. Hang on. There we go. Although, technically for the bronies out there, I'm an alicorn because I also got little wings. I don't know if you can see.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
What if Darth Sidious was a furry? Wipe them out, all of them.
And we do not condone unicorn hunting on this channel, folks.
Oh no. No.
Yeah, so last episode we went to a regional burn, or Electric Mesa, rather.
A very, very sad one. I assume I've never been to anyone, but from what I've heard, that was, lacking.
Yeah, I mean, Burning Man becomes its own full city. Like, it's hundreds of thousands of people. The thing is, you can never, ever see all of what is there. It's just not physically possible.
Wow.
That said, I did not have a good time at Burning Man because the environment tried to kill me, and my disabilities just don't mesh well with the alkali lake there. So I probably am more likely to go to a regional burn.
Daryl and Joe had some really great relationship and character development. We're not going to spend too much on that, but I just wanted to mention it because of how much I loved it. Rebecca and what's her name? Oh my God.
Valencia.
Wow. Okay. Rebecca and Valencia had some interesting bonding, let's say. Some of it I think was great. I actually like how Valencia kind of came to things and grew. Not as much with how Rebecca did, considering she kidnapped Valencia and also encouraged her to pee on the stuff, which that's still weird.
Reminded me a lot of The Runaways.
Not familiar.
There's a scene in the movie The Runaways, which is about the 1970s band called The Runaways, the first all-women rock group, and where Joan Jett got her start. In it, Joan Jett pees on the instruments of some band that was being sexist as fuck.
Okay. You see, that bothers me less because she's taking revenge on some people who were like really horrible, whereas Josh was just kind of an idiot. And also, like, it's not even his stuff. It's the company's and Josh just is scared to be single. You know, he doesn't know how to be alone. Which I'm sure we all know people like that who like and this isn't meant as like a dig at any of our viewers, like it's just there's value in knowing how to be alone and take care of yourself, and Josh does not know how to do that. So I'm curious to see where that goes, and the only way Josh knows how to do that is with girls, is with women in relationships. He has his friends, but that for Josh, his friendship group always seemed more on a superficial level. And his closest friend, Greg, is gone now. Hector's kind of just there, like not the person you want with the deep friendship. And Joe is very much doing his own thing and always has been. Like, you know, so he really like doesn't have much of a social group right now, and so he's sort of reverting to, and he's a very good looking, charming in a goofy way guy, so he's not going to have trouble attracting women. Also obviously the show's written for that, but you know, so I'm curious to see what happens with him, with that, you know, random woman he met at the burn, but more importantly I'm curious to see where this girl time goes with Rebecca. Like, is it actually good for her, or is she just using it as a replacement for Josh / Greg? Like, is it just another way to fill the void in an unhealthy way, or is it perhaps a way to address the void in a healthy way? I guess we'll find out. Although the fact that the episode is called Who Needs Josh When You Have a Girl Group, and therefore Josh is still the reference point for everything, I'm guessing not so much. A big thing going forward will obviously be how Paula and Rebecca reestablish what their friendship is, because the friendship started off as how to get Josh, and Paula living vicariously through that. But now that Paula is actually, her relationship is good, she's going for her dream, like Paula's life is good, and she and Rebecca have kind of drifted apart a little bit now that Paula's life is actually functional. Like, she sort of moved a little bit away from her very toxic friend. So, and found a new friend. So I'm curious to see, do they reintegrate? So I'm really curious to see how that goes. All right. So are we ready to watch season 3, episode 6? Who Needs Josh When You Have a Girl Group?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I'm just a girl in love.
Can't be held responsible for my actions. And adorably obsessed. You're just calling her in love. Blam!
I always forget about the blam.
And with the 8 pairs of sunglasses, the waterproof dive watch, and swimming for idiots, that comes to $10,312.
Please.
Trent!
Oh, she's trying to reinvent himself to be like Josh.
I'm just in town to infiltrate, or should I say, infiltrate.
Okay, that was actually kind of funny. I like puns.
Well, if you ask me, forcing friendships never works.
Oh, and if you ask me, I didn't ask you, surf shop lady.
Why are you telling her all your plans?
Also, like, I would be very scared of that man and wouldn't want to say anything to him after that.
Same.
Been out on 3 amazing dates.
All right, so he's been seeing Anna.
A brutal 11 minutes. I love Why Joe. Oh, the sass.
Policy, $150 for a table, $50 for the bar. Look, if you can't afford it, please, just go. I can't stand seeing the sadness in your eyes. It hurts my heart.
Sweet, but next time when you gotta go number 2, close the door, okay? You talk about pooping a lot.
Who doesn't talk about pooping a lot?
I know, right?
I've had the best time hanging out with the both of you.
I actually really love this.
Right? We're like Sotomayor, Bader Ginsburg, and Kagan.
Yeah, it takes so much effort to get over internalized misogyny enough to develop real relationships with other women. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I have also never had a girl group, and that's because studies show that women tend to be indirect communicators, and I'm too direct. Your breath doesn't smell like amazing.
I love Heather. And she accepted it. I love it.
Yeah, I feel like they've coded Heather as autistic.
Oh. I've never been tested, and I do not self-diagnose, but I am diagnosed with ADHD, and there is a lot of overlap. So for me, that's just how I am. I'm very direct. I like, if something, like, I don't have the patience or emotional energy to not be direct or deal with that. And so sometimes it can be very difficult for me because that's not how most people communicate in their daily lives. So I didn't think about that. I was just like, oh, I like Heather because she's direct and easy to communicate and I know what she's thinking. That's what I like. I like that in a person. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That is not how most people communicate. And I sometimes forget that.
Particularly with the monotone speaking voice and oftentimes confusion over appropriate social things. I think that to me codes as autistic. But those are just two things. Two things doesn't make a diagnosis, and it's a fictional character. But those two things to me are things that I usually associate with autistic people when they come together.
They're also media shorthand for neurodivergent people. if not specifically autistic or whatever, but like that is absolutely something that is very clearly coded that way in media writing.
Yeah, I guess the monotone speaking is something I usually specifically think of with autism, but
Okay.
is it common in other neurodivergence?
I don't know. I absolutely also like it's not something that all autistic people share because they are not a monolith. But I don't know actually. If anyone does know and wants to put in the comments, yeah, I don't know.
All right, we're about to head into a song that I'm quite excited about.
Ooh, all right. I'm gonna put my unicorn on for that.
When my friends and I stick together, there's nothing we can't do. We're gonna stage a coup. Cut each other's braids, connect the braids to build a rope to hang all of Congress.
I mean, who doesn't love Spice Girls?
I didn't even realize because I don't know Spice Girls at all.
Head of censorship and mind control. I put drugs in the water supply. Czar of torture.
Czar of torture. Still kind of pause after torture. It was amazing.
All citizens must watch Hocus Pocus.
Okay.
Take us out.
The first time I saw that, the moment they said, "Oh, I love Hocus Pocus," I said that at the exact same time. That was my
That's a great movie. I grew up watching it like so many people from our generation. That movie, and the fact that like that movie was unique in that it was a boy who was the virgin, sort of subverting that trope, which was great. That was a really fun song. I wish it were a little longer. It was a bit abrupt. It was also cool to see Heather a little more enthusiastic because we don't see her like that very often. So just kind of cool seeing her sort of like into it.
The song. This is another part of the show that hits a bit differently a few years later after certain events. Trying to figure out how to talk about this song without setting off all the YouTube bots.
I mean, we could just focus on like the idea of, girl power and, Spice Girl songs and, the fact that it was fun we could also just you could also just say like, this song hits differently after the events of a certain date in January. You could phrase it like that.
I do think that they do a good job though of showing the more ridiculous side of that, of like diverting resources to make them rosé, for example.
Yep.
So it's
they wouldn't be necessarily benevolent overlords.
Czar of torture.
The Czar of torture line just had me because it was Czar of torture, and then there was a clearly very intentional beat, just like I put drugs in the water supply. Czar of torture. Like the actual structure of the song was very like Rachel's line was sort of flowy, Rebecca's line was sort of flowy, Heather's line was sort of flowy, and then Czar of torture. Like just it hit hard.
Yeah, I love the big like
also like the intelligent one in charge of brainwashing. Okay, yeah, media censorship, brainwashing the smart one. Yeah, okay, makes sense. The cool one, drugs the water supply. Okay, makes sense. The sexy one, torture. Sure.
I love it.
Yeah, that was really fun.
I think that was good. Let's approve it, yeah?
Approved.
So this is your girl group, huh?
Aw, he's jealous.
Really cute.
Oh, the inter's still there. I don't remember her name.
Maya.
There might also be others.
Maya.
I
think you're right. Look at her. Look how sad she is. She totally feels left out.
I think she's projecting. She seems fine to me.
I can totally fix this because all I have to do is blend my old friend somehow into my new friends. Like,
Mm.
I feel like this relates to the first scene of Not Forcing Friendships
When was the not forcing friendships?
with Trent.
Oh God, yeah. Yep.
oh, look who happens to be here. You happen to be here. You happen to be here. What a fun, spontaneous, not forced blend of Rebecca's friends.
By planning every single step of it, maybe 42-step plan.
Naughty toy parties. My fabulous friend Angelique throws them.
Oh, MLM.
No one loves that.
Think about it.
I'm very uncomfortable right now. That's one of those like toy MLM things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't invite an MLM over.
She does seem like the type who would be into MLMs, though.
I'm lost. Someone up front told me there's a bathroom back here somewhere.
Oh, don't I know you?
Oh, I don't know. Do you hang 10 at the beach?
Totally.
God, this hurts my soul.
You're the guy who was dating Rebecca. You had a cool name.
Oh, it's Trent. You take out the T, it's rent. You take out the R, it's tent. It's an easy way to remember it, you know?
I feel that reaction so hard. This is painful.
You gonna be at home base on Friday for the playoffs?
I wanna, but they priced me out.
Bummer, man.
As soon as they introduced the table, I knew they were gonna. That's how Trent was gonna get his in.
I don't want to force anything because if you ask me, that never works.
It's on your expensive account.
Expensive account?
I do like how you commented your point that they're basically both trying to force a friend group. Although the big difference is Rebecca is trying to force the friend group to bring her friend in to her wonderful friend group, whereas this guy's trying to force it to manipulate Rebecca. So they're both not necessarily good actions, but for very different reasons.
A croissant, a donut, and pizza.
That's true.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Whoa.
That's
Come over, see my new house. We've been working real hard on it.
Oh, I mean, that sounds really great, but I mean, I've got the torts test, so
Right.
I mean, you know.
But here's the thing. I really miss you, and I want you to be a part of my life.
she's communicating.
Yeah. But she's also pressuring her to do something that
Yeah,
probably
she's not
said-
listening.
Yeah?
I would love to see your new house. So, yeah, all right.
Although it was only a little bit of light pressuring, and then it was a very enthusiastic response from Paula.
And just to be clear, you're not invited.
Oh, you got it.
Ew.
Apply the substantive law of the state in which.
Let's just say the word. Rebecca is needy. She's MIA and now snaps her fingers and you just come running?
Wow, you really.
What is your problem, dude?
Test by spending time with your woman child.
He's jealous, too.
I mean, he is right, but he's sort of out of place. Like he's out of line. I do like that they're like at her home comfortably studying. That's really sweet.
I love their friendship. I love that he...
Oh my God.
But I don't love the way that he seems to be jealous of her and trying to keep her away from her other friends.
So I haven't noticed that yet. Like, to me, that just seemed like a friend expressing concern, maybe stepping over the line a little bit, but it could be there's stuff in the future that will.
Maybe I'm a little sensitive. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't like it when people...
God.
I don't like it when people get territorial.
I didn't really feel that territorialness. You did. Obviously, I'm not trying to discount how, but for me, it was just like he's concerned and cares for his new friend, and he sees the patterns, which, let's be honest, they're there. But for me, it's more like he's sort of overstepping his line a little bit. He's a new friend. But also, we don't really know how close they are because it hasn't really shown. It's shown that their friendship is developing, but because Paul is not the main character, we don't know quite how developed the friendship is. We don't know, have they gotten to the point where this is a normal conversation? Because this is the first time we've seen him bring up the thing like the Paula's toxic relationship with Rebecca, right? So for me, feels like it's coming out of nowhere a little bit, but also like we don't really know the development stage of their friendship.
Yeah, I guess I'm not a huge fan of the like denigration and name calling of saying she's a woman child. Even if she has issues that she needs to work on, it's still like, I mean, I guess I sort of did the same thing last episode, or the one of the recent episodes, where I asked if Paula really wants to have kids because Rebecca is pulling on her so much and requiring so much support and acting immature. But I also didn't straight up call her a child.
Well, you commented on her behavior. I think you actually make an excellent point that you're right. Him straight up calling her a woman child is kind of is insulting when what you're saying is, you know, if he'd said what you'd said, Paula, I'm concerned that you're going back to her when she's essentially, you know, being immature and trying to guilt you into going back. Like if he'd phrased it like that and commenting on her behavior, by calling him her a woman child, it's just, yeah, it's infantilizing her and it's sort of dismissing her in a way that is not good. So I think you make an excellent point.
I may also be just a little overprotective, but we'll see.
Okay. I mean, I do love Paula, so I get it. Oh, also the kitchen. Oh my God, this kitchen. I'm in love with this kitchen and I want this kitchen. The giant island, the granite counters. Oh my God, I need this kitchen.
So it's basically like new. Whoa!
Oi.
Wow. This is where all those people were murdered. Look at those sconces. And you know what? I am really glad that we finally have the time to just put our feet up and, you know, have a...
Oh no.
Chatting is fun, but you know what else is fun?
Forcing friendships.
We got the t-shirt.
Yeah! Introducing the newest member of our girl group.
Oh no.
This is not what consent looks like.
Yep.
Hey, Rebecca, you'll think he's so normal. I'm in love. The trend is getting ready song.
Rebecca had a song just like this in season 1, I think.
Getting ready.
In other words, he's trying to... Oh, ow. Ow. Ow, what?
And he just gives up right away, unlike Rebecca waxing her butthole. That's blood.
What's up, Hector and White Josh?
How'd you know our names?
Yeah. I called you White Josh because you're a white person who looks like Josh. And obviously I called you Hector because I'm racist.
Oh my God. Because I'm racist.
Believable.
Okay. That looks great.
Oh.
Oh, the breast cancer rock and roll walk, run 5K.
Oh, man.
Did I do something wrong? No. What happened was Rebecca didn't tell us Paula was coming.
I love Heather.
It's weird.
Okay. There's that endearing honesty. Okay.
Hi.
You know, I just thought that tonight was gonna be just us.
Please don't leave. It's so important to me that you be here. Just give me an hour. 1 hour, okay? And if we're not all like totally blood sisters by then, you can leave, no hard feelings, okay?
You know, I'm glad I have a hood right now because this is cringe and I want to hide.
Yeah.
I feel better now.
You're not here. And smile. Done.
Oh no. Oh, Daryl.
No. What?
Oh my God, are Daryl and Maya gonna bond? Is Maya gonna become a more major character?
Has anyone ever told you that your voice sounds like a mouse with throat cancer?
Why are they so mean to her?
I don't know. It's sad.
I'm just really sad that I'm not at Rebecca's house for the fun party.
Sweetheart, listen to me. You can't force a friendship.
Everyone keeps saying that, and yet everyone
Me? Team up with you? That's just ridiculous. What'd you have in mind?
It seems like every show, even the ones I really like, all have that one character that everyone shits on. And like Parks and Rec had Jerry. Now, in the end, Jerry, they give Jerry, the writers gave Jerry a beautiful wife and beautiful kids and a happy, wonderful family because they felt bad for him. But like every show has that, and it's like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, for example. I wouldn't say Boyle is the one everyone shits on because he also gets a lot of good things happen to him. Kind of like Daryl. Yeah, the others treat Daryl a little bad, like sort of as an afterthought sometimes, but he has good things going in his life. But then you have a character like Maya who literally, at least so far, maybe things improve. I don't know, but they just treat her like garbage and nothing good happens for her. And I don't like when shows have that kind of character. Like you have a character who gets shit on a little bit, like Daryl sometimes, but he also brings it on himself a little bit. But he also has good things in his life, like, a normal human being. But then you have Maya, who seems fine. Like, I know nothing about her because she's only there to be a punchline, and I don't like characters like that.
I actually have a slightly different perspective, but totally agree with you. In my perspective, they're showing Maya in a sympathetic light. We are not supposed to like the way that people are treating her. To me, the character that's the punchline of this in the past, in last season and in this one, and who does not seem to have any redeeming features, like the show only presents this character as a punchline, is Karen. And to me, that has always made me uncomfortable. And I wish that they would give Karen, I wish they would round her out more in these first two seasons. She's just a joke at all times, something to shit on.
You know what? I don't think it bothers me for the same reason the way Hector's kind of treated crappy bothers me, except that Hector's treated by the thing is he's not treated badly. He's sort of similar in that they're both obnoxious and kind of dumb, but Hector's still welcomed by the other guys, whereas Karen is constantly excluded and shit on. They are similar in that, like I said, they're both. I wouldn't want to be friends with either of them in real life because they're a lot and they both have issues, but Hector is welcomed with the guys and Karen is not. So you make a really good point, and it's interesting that it hasn't bothered me, and I wonder if there's some sort of like ingrained sort of like, sexism there, that it's like, oh, she's an annoying woman. Yeah, of course no one wants to hang out with her, but that still doesn't really give them the right to treat her like crap, like which they do.
I think that one of the reasons that it bothers me, aside from just wanting to see more well-rounded characters, is that there's a big part of me that identifies with Karen. I have often been the one in a workplace that doesn't understand what is and isn't appropriate to share, and I've had other people treat me like I'm a weirdo outcast when I'm just trying to connect. And that feels crappy. Now, granted, Karen does do things that are inappropriate, but I don't feel like she deserves to be treated the way she is.
Yeah. And no one ever tries to like talk to her about it or sort of correct the behavior or like say, hey, Karen, don't do that. They just dismiss her and treat her badly. And like, we've never seen her do anything that was so egregious that would make you go like, ugh. No, you make a really good point. And also about Maya being, you're right. Like, I don't like the way she's treated, but you're not supposed to. And I hope they do other things with her character. And also the one who usually treats her the worst is Daryl, and that sort of the shit rolls downhill. He was at the bottom of the totem pole, and now there's someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really.
He's at the bottom of a totem pole of someone's friend group.
Yes.
He is the top person at this law firm. So, like, he is crapping on a subordinate. This is an HR nightmare.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. But I guess when I say the bottom of the totem pole, I mean in the context of the priorities of the show, because the priority this is Rebecca's show. So at the end of the day, like it doesn't the actual work dynamic doesn't. While it is important to talk about, you make a really good point. To me, it doesn't quite register because it's not really that important, relevant to what the show is actually about. And they've never really like talked about it because the fact is, like, he is a reasonably decent boss for with everyone else, it seems. And he seems to actually be good at letting people do what they're good at. He's not an overbearing boss. He doesn't act like he knows better. He hires competent people. So for me, I never really registered that, but you're absolutely right. Like, yeah, he's treating a subordinate, the lowest level subordinate he has, like absolute dirt. And that is not okay. In addition to just don't treat people like crap.
Yeah.
Nothing yet.
Okay, but she is adorable. Like, oh my God.
Loop-de-loop. It starts at the end and it ends at the start of this song goes in a loop-de-loop. This song goes in a loop-de-loop.
I think I need a noose-de-noose.
You put your own spin on it, and that's fun. Thank God. Ladies, get ready.
Oh, no. Oh, this is going to be so painful and cringy.
Paula, you especially. Strap yourselves in.
Why her especially? She's the only one in a successful relationship.
Maybe that's why, because partner to use.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. I gotta be friends with Karen, too?
I think we're allowed to shit on Karen a little bit here because she straight up lied. And that's not okay.
So, if I remember correctly, in a moment, we're going to learn that Angelique had some kind of like medical problem and couldn't come, but she still did not get consent to be there and was specifically told she was not invited. So
yeah, which isn't very nice, but also like you're violating someone's home. Yeah. Okay.
I think Karen's out of line here for sure.
Yeah.
No, I just got a text. They're dead. To me. Classic Trent. Just joking around.
God, it's so cringy.
We would never do that to each other, right? I mean, bros for life.
Yeah, this episode is a lot of cringe.
I like how Wide Joe's the only one who's fully like aware.
Love the free stuff, but this is not worth it.
Yeah, he is real strange.
Wide Joe's facial acting is so good right now.
Sorry, just Anna texted me a picture of a cat dressed up like a dog. Where does she find this stuff?
Why is Wide Joe still friends with Josh?
No, there are no bad ideas. This is a safe space.
And he's gonna shit on her ideas.
A pineapple!
Ta-da!
Is that a claw?
Yes.
And a drainage hose?
Oui.
And those are suction cups.
Oui, oui.
Around midday, your hubby gives you a little remote zippity zap.
I kind of want to know what it looks like based on their description.
You just clapped your monkey in the middle of a business meeting. Work superior, but my badass hubby just made me cut Loki in my pantsuit.
Texting's kind of about the kids.
Okay.
Oh, this is so cringy and painful.
Oh, wait, you're not leaving, are you?
No, I'm going.
This hurts.
She's not blending seamlessly into our group. We need to include her more in our friendtopia.
You shouldn't, like, force it.
I'm not forcing, I'm aggressively facilitating.
Help!
Stand back! Go group to the rescue! Zig-a-zow!
Oh no!
Paula's stuck in the bathroom.
More Heather singing, yay!
My second sophomore year, I took a kinesiology class.
Of course she did.
Karen says, sorry, Angelique has an epigastric hernia. Gross. Let's call 911. Wow. I can't believe it took us that long to come up with the most obvious solution. Paul is still stuck in the bathroom.
Shh, I'm on the phone. Sorry.
I didn't think I could love Heather anymore, but oh my God, her voice. Her voice was perfect for that style of song. The sort of, I don't know what the style is, but it's like sort of reminiscent of like In the Heights, Rent, the sort of rock musical kind of. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It definitely reminded me of Rent with the way sort of she sings what's happening as it's happening, and but like and in the rock style, like the way she also sang with sort of the way she inflected. It reminded me very much of like Roger from Rent, specifically. No, I don't know a ton of those styles of musicals, so I keep going back to Rent. But yeah.
So this is a parody of R. Kelly, a rap opera.
Okay, I don't love the R. Kelly reference because
That's fair. But I mean, also a show that's specifically trying to parody like every genre of music.
Yeah. But oh my God, she sounded so good. And I love the fact that she was the only one singing, like she was like singing their lines. And it's just like, it's so absurd. Like there was no reason to have that song. It could have just also like the most obvious solution was the last one they came to. Like that was kind of funny. Yeah. That whole
try to eliminate the options that you can solve on your own prior to calling 911.
Yeah, it's also like what options did they try? Each of them just tried lifting it.
Yeah, but I mean, I imagine if you called 911, they'd be like, did you try to do anything?
Yeah.
Then again, you could end up making things worse.
It's not structurally sound. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole scene was cringe and painful, like this whole episode has been, but it's had some great songs.
So I was thinking, what about a weekend away?
Oof.
You guys roller skate? Psych.
Oh, I love Why Joe's expression.
Yeah, Trent just keeps trying to ratchet things up more and more.
Yeah.
But wait, you can't leave. The game's not even in its last part.
It's last part.
Come on. She called me Boo.
Josh is just oblivious.
Come on, Boo.
Ow!
Come on, Boo.
At least buy some lube. I even use it as hand lotion.
Oh no, that's nasty.
Edible.
Oh God.
Ah!
I mean, technically it might be, but you're not supposed to do it like that.
That's very visceral.
Au revoir, losers.
Losers.
I'm so sorry about the beams, about Karen, and I'll text Scott and tell him what's happened.
No, hey, don't, I'll just text him when I get out of here. No, hey, just don't worry about it, just.
Listen when she says no.
It feels like Paula is trying to hide something.
I love Heather.
Is this part of what girls do? Should I be giggling?
Oh, that's not cool. Ugh, invading her privacy. It's not okay.
Quote, help, I'm having the worst night of my life, end quote. This part's like, this is when it gets really funny. For him to come rescue her and then quick make up some story to get.
I have no sympathy for Rebecca. Like, Paula tried to be nice and friendly and she was lied to. And yeah, I mean.
And then she violated her privacy.
And then she violated her privacy.
It was agonizing over whether or not you'd felt like I'd replaced you.
Oh, no. You don't get to turn this to be the victim.
You never even tried.
Yeah, because you lied to her and manipulated her, and now you're gaslighting her. This is gaslighting, right? Like, this is straight up gaslighting, right? Like,
I think that offering a different perspective is not gaslighting, because gaslighting is something that makes you doubt your own perception, right? So is this making Paula doubt her own reception, or is it just pointing out that Paula never gave it a chance because she really didn't? For good reason, she didn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess does making someone question whether or not their anger is justified count as gaslighting? I don't know. I'm asking, because that's sort of what she's doing. It's saying, oh, you're the bad guy here, and ignoring and like undercutting the fact that like she never gave the night a chance because she was lied to, like, several times.
To me, that's not making somebody doubt their own sanity. That's just saying, that's just her perspective on it.
Okay, so she's just being a super shitty friend.
I would say yes. I don't. I mean, because there's a difference between offering a different perspective and trying to see things from different sides, and intentionally trying to make someone doubt their own sanity and perception.
Well, I guess that's another question. Does gaslighting have to be intentional for it to be gaslighting? Is unintentional gaslighting a thing?
I don't think so, but I'm not an expert on this. Not mental health professionals. We didn't do our disclaimer. Not mental health professionals.
Definitely not. Okay. Regardless, it just, I'm as someone who often, for many reasons among friends and family, ended up being sort of the peacekeeper and the one who often had to sublimate my own feelings about things.
Yeah, same.
I am so angry on Paula's behalf right now, because it's like, yes, I can understand why Rebecca's hurt, and that is a valid feeling she is having, that she is hurt right now, that she feels like she's being replaced. That is valid. But she was the one who tricked Paula into coming to this thing, forced her to do something she didn't want to do, manipulated her into staying.
Yep.
And now she's, well, oh, but you replaced me? No, like, you can be upset, but you don't, in my opinion, you don't get to be the victim here. And that's what she's trying to do. And that makes me like, your feelings are valid, your behavior is not. And I've dealt with a lot of people, I'm sure many of our viewers have, where someone will use sort of therapy speak to be like, well, my feelings are valid. Yes, but your behavior, your reaction, in this context, the way you're trying to make yourself the victim is not valid.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I didn't see Rebecca go that extra step, but she did get close to it.
Yeah, she didn't make her question her own perception. She just turned around the issue and steamrolled past Paula's genuine reasons for being upset to play the victim. And that is just, it makes me very upset at Rebecca, which is a running theme in this show, which is kind of the point.
Reversing victim and perpetrator is an abuse tactic.
Yes.
That is often coupled with gaslighting.
Okay. So there's no question that what she's doing right now is toxic, whether intentional or not. Whether or not it's gaslighting, I can see why you wouldn't necessarily refer to it that way, but it's absolutely toxic. There's no question there.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, and unintentional abuse is absolutely a thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, yeah. How did your bro plan work out?
Is she talking to this clearly scary, deranged man?
You were doing this for a girl?
Oh, because she's an idiot too.
Forcing friendships is weird, but forcing love is so romantic. You gotta force love. Go to her now, run!
Are you?
Oh, God.
All right.
Go get your Cinderella!
Of course he knows where she lives. That face is pretty funny, though.
You couldn't even tell me to my face that you wanted to leave.
She said she wanted to leave several times. Okay, that's gaslighting.
That's getting into it.
Okay. She attempted to leave several times. Like, yes, she didn't say, hey, I want to leave. She said, hey, I gotta go, I gotta study, I gotta do this. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you steamrolled past that, and now you're saying shit. Yeah, no.
Hi, is Paula here? I'm Sunil, Paula's friend.
Poor Sunil.
Paula, the dude you sent those mean texts to about us is here.
Yes, I have to tell her something. I can barely catch my breath. I just came to tell Paula that Tommy stepped on a nail and has tetanus already and has to be hospitalized.
I love this guy. This guy's hilarious.
Rebecca,
I am so sorry.
Don't be.
Get you out. You won't have to be friends with me anymore.
Oh my god. Rebecca just keeps making me more and more angry.
I can't do this anymore.
Lactose intolerance.
What are you, a man or a mouse, huh? Well, I know the answer.
Please slap him down.
Daryl, stop it, okay? I've had enough of you bullying me. I'm nice, I work hard, and I'm smart. The fact that my boss picks on me is making me worse at my job and negatively impacting my health.
Yeah.
You've created a hostile work environment.
Yay, Maya.
You're overeager, desperate to be included, forcing yourself on people, and I don't like that about myself. And when I see it on someone else, I find it even more repulsive. I'm sorry. Whatever your next idea is, that's what we're gonna do.
Do you mean it? Because this one's really good.
It's not.
Is it the dress like clowns one? Because I like that one.
I haven't worked out since birth.
Oh, that was good.
We all work together.
Yeah.
Oh, so now you want everyone to be together and do together things. Oh, firemen are here, Paul.
That's gonna be Trent.
Whoa, buddy.
Trent? Weirdo face, put me down. Although you just scooped me up like I was basking a muffin, but put me down.
I'm here to make you try on a shoe.
What?
That reaction. Okay, that reaction was great.
Well, Paula's stuck in there, and we've been waiting for the firemen for like a long time. Typical girl group stuff, right? No.
I love how unsure Valencia is of what it's like to be with girls, that she keeps checking in. That's hilarious. Also, like, if he's able... Oh, God, she's falling for him.
Here. I got you.
Come on, Sunil.
Yes, we have to go get Tommy before he's killed with tetanus.
No, you are not leaving.
You really should just let her leave.
Now, you have been rude to me and everybody here this whole night. Really makes me angry because I did this all for you.
No, you didn't.
You just wanted to feel better about abandoning our friendship. You moved on from us.
I've moved on from you. What's going on with your palsy-wowsiness with daughter number 5 from Fiddler?
She has a name. It's Bielka.
I love him.
I know many theater majors. They don't bring it up. They just are.
Are you kidding? Theater people bring it up all the time.
For the past few months, every time I wanted to talk to you, you were too busy for.
Okay, Rebecca did try to talk to her, though, and did try to be there for her at least once during that time.
Yeah, once. That time when she was homesick.
Yes.
To me, it sort of feels like too little too late. And also, like, to me, it didn't feel like it was genuine. It was... I think this is where you and I might have a different perspective, because we talked about this last time, where I was sort of on Paula's side for not... In the, like, sort of her choice not to talk. I understood why, because... You know, when you were like, well, Rebecca's putting herself out there. And I was sort of like, I don't think she really is. She's putting herself out there for herself, not for Paula, if that makes sense.
My problem is not that Paula didn't confide in her. My problem is that now Paula is gaslight. See, this is where I feel like gaslighting is also coming into play, because Rebecca did legitimately try. She did put herself out there at least once. And while Paula was not obligated to confide in her, it is a lie to say that Rebecca never tried and was never there for her. To me, that's just a flat out inaccurate representation of events. Especially because Rebecca had no idea anything was going on with Paula because Paula never told her.
No, I'm processing it because I can't. My immediate reaction is to want to disagree with you because it's very different from my perspective, but I can't find anything objectively wrong about what you just said to debate it. Like, you're right, that did happen. There's no question that that did happen. I guess for me, it's coming from a different perspective of Paula. From Paula's perspective, and this is why I don't think it's gaslighting, based on the previous sort of definition we agreed on, it wasn't intentional. From Paula's perspective, Rebecca, didn't really put herself out there, or if she did, it was sort of too little too late, to the point that she wasn't comfortable. So from Paula, it felt like she didn't, even if she's wrong. And you are correct that objectively, Rebecca did come to her and say, hey, talk to me. But from Paula's perspective, sort of like what Rachel's like, I did this for you, like just now. Rebecca is like, I did this for you. And Paula's like, no, you didn't. You did it for you because you didn't want to feel bad. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's how Paula felt, because that's honestly how I felt about when Rebecca came to her when she was in the bed, when she was bedridden post her procedure, and Paula declined her invitation to confide and talk to her. Because to me, it also felt like at that point, from Paula's perspective, it could very well be like, oh, she's doing this for herself to make her feel better because she's been ignoring me so long. And she's still like, it took so little. All Paula said was, no, it's fine. And she immediately went back to talking about her issues with the guys. Like, if someone comes to me and says, hey, if you need to talk, if there's anything you're struggling with, someone who's been having like very self-absorbed lately comes to me and says, hey, let's hear about your stuff. Well, I don't really want to get into it. Oh, okay. So here's what I'm still dealing with. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't say, hey, okay, let's just hang out. It went right back to making it about her. And then in the immediate aftermath, Rebecca continued always making it about her. So that's why I'm sort of like, I agree that everything you said is factually correct, but I don't want to call it gaslighting because I don't think it was intentional. I think it was very much from Paula's perspective. She didn't put herself out there.
I guess I feel differently. I feel like if I went to somebody and I made, to me, Rebecca's Rebecca's offer to be there and listen to Paula and be supportive felt very genuine to me in that moment. And if I made that offer and somebody was like, no, I don't want to talk about it, I would move on to a different topic so as not to pressure them.
Yes, no, so that's where I think you and I fundamentally differ, in that I didn't feel it was terribly genuine. And I think that's just our own personal experiences and perspectives informing our reading of the show. So it's not that we disagree on the principle of like what actually happened. It's more just I'm sort of feeling Paula's perspective more and you're feeling Rebecca's perspective more. And I think that's totally fine. Yeah. I think that's a valid disagreement.
I guess I feel defensive if I go to, like, if somebody's presenting something at face value and the other person is assigning them motivations, that feels not good to me.
I completely agree with someone who's a good communicator, but the fact is Rebecca so often presents something at face value that is so obviously not what she's really saying. Like this whole evening, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like this evening is an example of why, if I were Paula, if I was someone close to Rebecca who knew her well, I never really feel comfortable taking any kind of offer at face value.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, Paula had very obviously been going through a lot at that point, and Rebecca made no effort to reach out because she was so self-absorbed with her own stuff.
But I don't feel like we ever saw Rebecca really see her going through anything.
Okay.
Like,
I think this.
And what she ever said was like, it seems like something's off, and I'm just checking in. And multiple times, Paula responded that everything was fine, or that something had been happening, but she's past it now.
You know what? I've only seen it once, so I don't remember. I'm going to defer to your expertise in the show here.
I do think you make good points.
Yeah, I think we both have valid points and valid perspectives on this. These are two people who need to be better at communicating with each other. I still think even if what Paula's doing here is wrong in terms of saying this didn't happen, which, yeah, objectively, you're right, it did happen. So I still, like, we'll see how the rest of the scene plays out, but I'm still very much like, even if Paula is wrong in this one thing, she's still right about the general arc of where their friendship and everything has been going, and how it's really much more on Rebecca's side. Not that blame is necessary, but when Rebecca is coming after Paula and saying it's your fault, and Paula's like, no, it's not. Even if she's wrong about this one specific thing, she's still right about the general thing that, like, and also Paula's the one that was fine. Like, yeah, you know, friendships move, they evolve. They sometimes distance happens and you move apart. That happens. And Paula was fine with it. I believe, like, she was bothered at first, but because she didn't have a life outside Rebecca, but now that she really does, she has other friends, her law school, her family life is great now. Her married life is great now. So,
I felt like it seemed to me that they were both making new friends and sort of moving apart.
That's a thing that people do.
At full amount, and that they were both just as liable for what happened, or responsible is the word I was looking for, I think.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like Rebecca was abandoning Paula at any point, which is
100%.
But that's how Paula sees it, and Rebecca is also feeling.
Except
they both feel like they're changed by the other.
I don't think that Paula, even if Paula felt a little bit betrayed, she moved on. She just was like, well, this sucks, but I'm accepting it. I'm just going to continue living my life, and, you know, whatever a relationship develops into, it does. Which, even if she's wrong about it being, like, betrayed or whatever, she still, you know, her feeling of being betrayed is valid. Her action of, and therefore I'm going to just move on, I'm making new friends, I do whatever, is correct, good behavior in this instance. Rebecca's feeling of, well, I feel betrayed and now I'm going to force it and lie to her is, and that's where the difference is. It's perspective, emotions valid, behavior not. Paula's behavior was valid, Rebecca's was not. And I'm really curious to see where the rest of the scene goes. Ready?
All right, let's do it.
Our relationship has always been one-sided. I give, you take. That's not fair. That's not fair. That hurts me. You've never been there for me when I need you. Just the other day, I came to your house when you were.
That's exactly what you were talking about.
What it was.
Abortion.
She can't know something you don't tell her.
You didn't tell me?
No, I did not. She wanted to tell you many times.
So can Nikki's understudy their nose.
Okay, that was a funny line.
You know what? And he listens to me.
You just didn't give me the chance. I mean, I asked you.
You didn't really mean it.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
I shouldn't have to ask.
She can't know anything's wrong, though, if you don't fucking tell her. Okay, I'll leave it.
Is it?
I think the dance emergency has just begun.
Oh, no.
We gon' keep it rolling, moving on a brighter day.
I love that Valencia's filming.
We gon' keep it rolling, moving on a
I also love the fact that Daryl's clearly a better dancer.
line, and I'm bound if you coming my way.
Oh, super easy to learn. You'll see.
I love his spiked hair. It looks good.
What, no takers?
the house where all those drug dealers were murdered?
So if we'd actually just let the scene play to the end, they exactly what you and I were sort of debating and talking about is exactly what they both straight up said.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't remember that.
But the thing is, like, it didn't change my opinion at all. Like, yes, you are completely correct that she objectively said, I'm here for you. And in general, I do believe, yeah, you take people at face value. If someone says something, you accept it at face value. But also context is important. So I understand Paula's side of like, no, you didn't mean it. And like, you didn't give me a chance to mean it. I'm not sure I agree with that statement because Rebecca had lots of chances. But the thing is, it's hard to say because their relationship from the beginning was based in something so toxic with and also like, what did Paula, what was the name of that song? Like, you didn't ask me to or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, they both crossed hella boundaries. And you know what? I guess just because Paula now lately has been so much better and healthier, that doesn't absolve the fact that she did a lot of awful things in their friendship, too.
Yeah, I think my problem fundamentally comes down to assigning other people motivations and saying, you didn't mean it. When she could say, I felt like I couldn't trust what you were saying because of these things in the past. I felt that way, not you are lying.
I didn't feel comfortable sharing with you because of whatever. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But most people are bad with. But I think is most people are bad with I feel statements, and they're bad about expressing. Well, exactly that. It's how they feel versus how they, yeah. It's much more common in the way people speak for them to sort of assign motivations rather than express how it affects them.
Yeah, and it's just a personal, huge pet peeve of mine because people do it all the time as a neurodivergent person, and I just fucking hate it so much.
I completely agree. But I think expecting most people to have that level of clear communication and self-awareness and knowledge, while it should be the norm, it just plain and simply isn't. So to expect people, and also one of the running, I don't know if it's themes or just facts about this show, about the characters, with the exception of Joe and to some degree Daryl, he's getting better at it, they all suck at communication. Well, not Heather, but Heather is perfect and we will never hear a negative word about Heather. I will brook no Heather slander in my presence. But with the and let's be honest, Heather has her own issues because being neurodivergent does not excuse being blunt and rude, which Heather can be at times. But that's not the point. The point is most of the main characters we follow are bad at communication, and they're also completely not self-aware. And Paula has grown and honestly outgrown Rebecca, and she, even if she doesn't understand that, she's accepted it, and Rebecca has not. And like, if the two of them want to be friends, they're gonna have to sit down and like really talk things out and have a mediator or a therapist or something. But I'm, again, while I agree with you that Rebecca did offer, I understand why Paula didn't feel comfortable, and I understand why, from Paula's perspective, like, she didn't mean it, even though that's wrong because you say you don't assign motivation. But for most people who aren't knowledgeable, self-aware, good at that sort of communication, I'm still just like, yeah, I wouldn't have been. I would not have felt comfortable sharing anything with her. Now, again, I'm self-aware, so I know that's on me. But in the context of this, like, yeah, that was rough.
I do understand why she wouldn't feel comfortable sharing. And that's, I don't think that's where my problem lies.
No, I understand. Your problem lies in the way, because I'm sort of assigning motivation to you here, but based on what you've told me explicitly, please correct me if I'm wrong. Your issue is the fact that you and I too have experience where people try to tell us how we're feeling, and rather than how our actions affected them. It's not, hey, you did this thing and that hurt me. It's, you did this thing to hurt me.
Right.
And if Paula had said, because of everything, that I didn't feel comfortable sharing with you, that would have been totally valid. But you're absolutely right. Like, that is not the correct way to communicate. You didn't mean it is not the correct way to communicate. I didn't feel comfortable sharing with you is the correct way to communicate. But Rebecca wouldn't have taken, I don't think she would have taken that any better. Now I'm guessing on her motivations, but based on her patterns.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with guessing how someone will react to something based on their patterns and then choosing your course of action based on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially what she did. She just did not communicate that well.
Yeah. And the fact that I want to quickly go back to Rebecca's statement about that hurts me. And so that makes what you said, and the implication being that makes what Paula said invalid in some way. Just because something hurts to hear doesn't mean that it's an inaccurate statement.
Some of the most difficult lessons I've had to learn in my life hurt to hear. There was one time a friend of mine invited me to a party where most of the people were LGBTQ. They were, I think I might have been the only cishet man there. Everyone there was either LGBTQ or female or, cishet woman. And I didn't realize at the time, because in the moment I was just, hey, being friendly, whatever. I'm a loud person in general. I sort of ended up dominating the space a little bit. Or a lot. Let's be honest. Kind of a lot. I'm not going to try to downplay it. And after it was over, as I'm walking home with my friend, they tell me that I upset a lot of people there and explained how my behavior bothered people and how my behavior upset others and them. And my initial visceral reaction was, oh, but I'm a good ally. Oh, that hurts. That's not nice. But thankfully, I was able to kind of be like, I basically just didn't say anything initially. I mean, I acknowledged like, oh, okay, so that they knew I heard them. And then I just sort of sat with it, walked with it because we were walking for a few moments. And I was just like, I said to them, thank you for telling me. I appreciate it that it might not have been easy for you to share this because you were worried about how I might react. And they told me straight up, like, yeah, no, if you had reacted badly, that would have been the end of our friendship. Valid. Yeah, if I can't take criticism from a marginalized person about my behavior, then that marginalized person might not want to be friends with me. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, this has come up, I think, for most people in their lives at some point. And I'm remembering a romantic relationship when I was much younger, one of my first real serious ones, and having the person, and I was sort of in that how could you say that about me? And the person was like, do you see how your behavior is not okay? And that was like, oh, no, I didn't. Like, shit.
I knew that this friend's comments were coming from a place of caring about me. Because if they didn't care about me, they'd have just been like, all right, this guy's beyond hope. I'm just going to walk home and never talk to him again. So the fact that they were willing to sort of take the risk of a negative reaction or whatever meant that they wanted me to be better, which means they cared about me. And so sort of I was able to, within the space of a fairly short period of time, I was able to sort of process that, even though it hurt a lot, because being told you kind of sucked hurts. They were much nicer about it. They were very clear. They expressed clearly what it was about my behavior that bothered people, that was not acceptable in those circumstances. They didn't say, you're a bad person. They said, hey, these behaviors bothered people and were not okay. so they phrased it in like literally the perfect way someone could. Not that it's on a marginalized person to, it's not on anyone to be the one responsible, but nonetheless, they could not have phrased it in a way that was more open to me receiving it while still accomplishing the goal of not trying to coddle me, but make me understand.
Yeah.
And I sat with it. I said, like, look, I said to them, I don't necessarily agree with everything you said, but I absolutely need to think about this and process it and internalize it. I absolutely see that some of what you said is unquestionably correct. Thank you. I need to sit on this and really think about it and work on it. And if I have any questions, can I reach out to you? And there are times where I've had, there are times where other people have sort of called me on certain things, and my initial reaction is not to get upset. I shouldn't say my initial, because we can't necessarily control our initial reaction, our initial emotional reaction, or visceral reaction, but my initial physical or spoken reaction, what I say is like, even though there have been times where ultimately I think the person was wrong in terms of their correction of my behavior, their comments on things I said or whatever, but I still listen and I still process. And if I'm unsure, I will go ask others' perspectives and opinions on it, because I have a like every human being on the planet, I have a limited perspective. So like if someone calls me out for inappropriate behavior towards a woman, for example, and I don't necessarily agree with them, I'm going to go seek others' perspective from other women on what they think. And if they tell me, yeah, I kind of see what that person was saying, it's like, oh, well, then I need to really shift my perspective. If they say, no, I think they might have been out of line or maybe oversensitive, and who knows why they were sensitive. But even if I think someone is wrong in terms of, hey, I didn't like that behavior is wrong, I'm still going to try to not do that behavior because I don't want to hurt someone. Like, okay, I don't think what I did was objectively wrong or whatever, but like it clearly bothers you, so I'm still going to try to not be a dick.
Yeah.
But there are also some exceptions where it's just like, no, I'm sorry, the thing you're asking me to not do is unfair. But that's probably the least common one. Like when I get called out on things, the most common one is, oh, I was doing something that should be corrected. I'm going to learn from this, grow and try to be a better person. Occasionally it's like, I don't think I was wrong, but I'm still not, but it's not a big deal for me to not do this around that person. So of course I'll accommodate them. But on rare occasions, it's just like, no, that person's out of line for what they're asking me. And I double check that with other people.
Yeah.
I don't remember how we got onto this very long rant, but
oh, Rebecca saying that hurt me.
Yes.
We can go back to the show.
Yes. Oh, I hope Maya and Daryl become like an ongoing like relationship in the context of the show and like a friendship, basically like I hope they get more C stories because I like their dynamic now that Daryl has admitted what he was doing was wrong and has apologized.
Mm-hmm. I love the way he called it out.
Yeah.
So specific.
I love the fact that she stood up for herself. Daryl listened. He internalized, he apologized, and then made an effort to correct his behavior. Because an apology without corrected behavior is meaningless.
It's such a good alternative to how Rebecca responded.
Yes. You're just catching all the dynamics there. Trent trying, all the forcing of friendships between Trent and Rebecca. And Daryl trying to force, but his lesson being very different. He didn't get over the whole trying to force a friendship thing, but okay, that was intense. Shall we watch the last 3 minutes of the show?
I think 30 minutes. Say 3.
No, 3 minutes of the show. There's 3 minutes and 30 seconds left.
Damn.
Yeah. We almost got to the end. We're getting sidetracked. Okay. All right.
Hey, I just wanted to say goodbye.
Why the heck is he still there?
Now I know that forcing things doesn't work.
Yeah, I feel that.
Well, he learns lessons quicker than Rebecca does.
Are you clean?
Let's not shame people for illnesses.
Yeah, I spot washed this morning.
Oh.
I just got a physical. My body is perfect.
Great. Want to have sex?
No.
I'm bored. I got nothing to do, and plus, it might cheer me up.
Oh, no. She's so self-sabotaging.
Don't want to see you again after this.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Why are the flip-flops on the bed?
Okay, I just want to point out, though, with Trent, he's awful and evil and gross, but he did ask for her consent before kissing her, which is important.
Often is emphatic about getting her consent before doing anything physical with her.
That's true, but only physical. And consent applies to much more than just the physical, and that is what he does not understand. Still more than most men do, unfortunately, but still.
It's called the Maya.
Oh, she's so tiny.
5, 6, 7, 8.
He's so much better at the Maya than Maya is. It's amazing.
Wow. Trent, I gotta say,
Why does she have a licorice?
you're really good at everything.
It is I who should thank you for taking my virginity.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Do you want to take it again?
I feel like that should be communicated ahead of time, but I don't know.
Yep.
You gotta pay the toll first, buddy. Come on.
Don't push people's heads.
Yeah. Okay, that ending was a little gross. Yeah. I mean, in terms of like communicating virginity, I mean, yes and no. On the one hand, yeah, it's good to know, and there are some emotional things that can come with it. On the other hand, it is a bullshit social construct. So,
and ultimately, it's his body to do with what he wants.
Exactly. Like, one of the biggest things I remember I used to say, like, virginity, it's like, dude, sex is an activity. So is basketball. Do you talk about losing your basketball virginity the first time you play? Like, I know it's not quite the same because when you're sharing your body physically with someone else, it is different. But, like, part of the reason it's so different is because of all the societal expectations, constructs, everything around it. While I do think sex is something that can be special and everything, virginity shouldn't be necessarily, unless you choose to make it. The problem is that it's all the societal stuff. So, like, should you disclose it? No, not necessarily. But if you don't disclose it and then you make a big deal about it with the person you just slept with, then that I do think is a problem. Or if someone says straight up, like, yeah, no, I don't want to have sex with virgins, and then you don't tell them, that's a problem. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Do our viewers have any thoughts on that? Do you think you should disclose? Does it not matter? Is it situational? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like maybe if you're really hyping it up as something that's super important and meaningful, then it should be disclosed. But if it's just something that's about you and not about the other person, then that's less necessary in my mind.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a tricky one.
I think in the case of I was going to say in this case, Trent should have, but because there's such that weird emotional thing between them, mostly on Trent's side, like, yeah, like he's obsessed with her, and then you have you lose your virginity to someone you're obsessed with. That's like but on the other hand, all she said was, hey, let's have sex. Like, and he said yes. And there was enthusiastic consent. Well, her consent wasn't enthusiastic, but that's just because, well, I should say, in the context of consent, it was enthusiastic consent, even if she herself was not enthusiastic about it because she was depressed. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of talk about, you know, consent and are there gray areas when it comes to consent, and that is a very difficult question. But in this context specifically, you know what? Here's actually, I'm going to phrase it as a question. I'm not even going to give my opinion on it because I don't know. Would you, if you were in the situation of Trent and Rebecca, someone you were maybe not obsessed with, we're not going to go with specific, but someone that you were very interested in, someone you wanted to have sex with, asked you to have sex with them when you were, but like they did it when they were clearly not in the good headspace, but they asked you, they initiated.
I mean, I would not be interested.
I wouldn't, no, I personally wouldn't be interested, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, would it be wrong to say yes from a consent standpoint? They were explicitly asked you, and then he asked again, you know, can I kiss you on the mouth? Meaning that she clearly consented. She wasn't drunk. She wasn't impaired. Well, actually, I guess that's the question. Does emotional distress, does depression count as impairment? Not whether or not it's like, would you be comfortable, but straight up, would that qualify as impairment in terms of, is it right or wrong, morally, ethically, to sleep with someone in that kind of situation if they initiate it?
It's a good question. Post to our viewers how they feel about that. I don't know that I personally have a particularly good response.
You know, and like I said, like you and I clearly personally wouldn't in that situation, or at least it's hard to say for sure in that situation. Like if you're someone you're really, but like we'd like to think we would, like at least like objectively right now we can say, yes, I wouldn't in that situation, but it's hard to say when you're actually in that situation. If it's someone you're really into who says yes and invites you, it's easy to say no now, but in the moment, it's hard to say for sure what you might or might not do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the cringiest episodes.
It was one of the cringiest, but it also had some of the heaviest issues. Like honestly, like it's the type of episode that if I do go through the show again, I won't necessarily rewatch, but I'm very glad that I saw, because a lot of it was cringy. Like, honestly, it could have skipped the entire Karen part. Like, that wasn't really that necessary for the show.
It wasn't.
And some of the cringy stuff could have very just been left out of the show to make it less hard to watch. But in terms of the issues being dealt with, like, yeah, this was an intense, important show, and I kind of feel weird wearing my unicorn onesie for this one.
We're bringing the necessary whimsy.
Yes. On the other hand, it did allow me to put my hood on for some of the cringier parts. Yeah, that episode, that was a lot. And I think it sparked some really brilliant discussion. There are definitely a lot of the things that I like that you and I disagreed on several things. While we agreed on the objective facts, we sort of came to different conclusions based on our own personal perspectives, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I really appreciate having another perspective.
I more than any other episode so far of these 6 that we've watched for this YouTube show, I would love to hear viewers' thoughts on any of the issues that came up, any of the questions we posed, anything that they kind of came to that you might have come to without us posing it directly, or just thoughts in general. Like, there's just so much happened in this episode that are not clear cut, more so than in many other episodes, I feel like.
Yeah, very complex issues.
There were so many issues about perception, appropriate reactions, We even got consent in there. Um, you know, yeah, it's just. And then you and I'll stay on for like another half hour or so after the show, to just chat about all the heavy issues with it.
Whoops, we got so caught up that we forgot to sign off. Thank you so much for joining us. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We love you. I hope you have a good week.
you